thank you for joining me all today. Now the season's over and we've got quite a big announcement to make, haven't we, Alistair? Would you care to elaborate more on that?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably one of the worst kept secrets in football in Forfar, I would have thought. Sadly, with a bit of regret, I need to announce that as of probably 5 minutes after this interview's finished, I will step down as chairman of Forfar Athletic Football Club. It's been, in one respect, a difficult decision to come to, but I'm not going to lie to you, in a lot of other respects it's been a fairly straightforward one as well.
Has this been weighing on your mind for most of the season, or?
Well, I think going back 2 years ago after the Alloa playoff game, it was probably my intention to step down after that game, and I probably buckled to a little bit of pressure from some of the senior players. Came and asked me to stay on, and that was quite flattering, to be honest. Really, I think that would be quite unusual for that to happen. So I was quite flattered by that, and I decided that I would just give it a go for another year. And at the end of last season, had we stayed up, had we avoided relegation on the last day, I would have probably gone then. I would have, but because that dreadful situation happened, I felt almost obliged to come back and see what we could do to get the situation fixed. And I remember doing an interview on the last day of the season at Albion Rovers when I said that we've got a close season of hard work ahead of us, and what a lot of fans will not be able to realise is that probably a week later, the manager and I were travelling down to sign players, and the work. What happened on Saturday up at Peterhead for us started about a week after the end of the season. We started to identify players, and Gary, to be honest, his work he did through the close season and signing a lot of players, just remarkable what he did. And so I agreed that I would do the season. Gary knew that I would do this season, and the board have known, and it was really around about January or February we started to work on putting together a replacement. So yeah, it's been a decision that's been there for a lot while. Yeah.
So Alistair, would you care to introduce the new chairman to us all then?
Well, the new chairman has been a director for the club, was it 4 years?
Five,
yeah. 5 years. I think it was my first appointment actually when I became the chairman. It was one of the first people I phoned up. I'd known Ken for a lot of years, and I knew he'd been a lot of work for the club behind the scenes anyway. He's been involved in the golf days, and he went away. He's always been actively trying to increase the shareholding in the club, and he's the company secretary. So when I became the chairman, he was the first person I went to be honest. Really, I was delighted that he took over. And he's heavily involved in the SPE, the pitch side of the club. Does a huge amount of work, and to be honest, really one of my concerns about Ken potentially taking over was who the hell's going to replace all the work that he does outside that. But we'll fix that. We've got new people recently joined the board, Ross and stuff like that, and we've got other things up our sleeve. So we'll come over. We'll come over and get that sorted. I'm staying on the board, so I'm not going completely. I'm here to help Ken, and I will pick up any roles that Ken decides he wants to push my way. So yeah, so Ken Stewart, new chairman, absolutely delighted.
Yeah. And Ken, just in case not many the fans might not know much about you, do you care just to give us your backstory, as it says?
Sure. Well, I've been 20 years in Forfar now. I'm probably starting to get an involvement, as Alistair says, with the club earlier on. So my very first touching base with the club was as bank manager. So it was always a welcome addition when I come into the boardroom, just to make sure I was checking out the assets and everything was going all right. But no, I've been involved with the trust in the background, and a few of the directors off and on. Certainly didn't think I would be joining the board at some time, but it happened, and I certainly didn't think I'd be becoming chairman, but it's happened. These things just the right thing at the right time. But looking forward to the challenge. But importantly, got to thank Alistair for all his input. He's put a tremendous effort and amount of work into this, and I think a lot of people don't know how much he puts in. But I'm delighted he's staying on. We've also got another former chairman in the board as well, with Dave McGregor. So there's a lot of strength and depth there, and a lot of people to call on. And it's an excellent time to be getting involved, because what a finish that's been to the season. Great Saturday that was, and still in a high from it, and just looking forward to keeping things going forward.
Does it make a huge, of course this is quite a small club, it makes such a huge difference, do you think, having the board being Forfar fans, whereas of course, in the SPL and things, that's not quite as the way it is?
Well, I suppose that they're bigger operations, they're bigger companies, and they've got other responsibilities and, if you like, more pressure perhaps. But we're certainly all fans. If you're sitting in the director's box at Peterhead and the goals went in, you would soon know if they were fans or not. In fact, I think there's a few grown men were at tears as the day went on, but no, it was excellent. And yeah, we've definitely got a fan base round the table, and it's a very active and working board. You know, there's nobody sitting there just for the sake of the name. Everybody is actively involved and has to, because we must do a lot of involvement with the community and raise a lot of cash as we go. So we give Gary the budget to move into the next year and keep moving forward.
Yeah. I think at that point, you know, I think I probably should have mentioned this. When we went on a little bit of a wobble towards the end of the season, you know, a few people jump on the bandwagon, and certain levels of criticism are aimed at the club, you know, from the board level and management and stuff, and that's absolutely fine. You can expect that. That just goes with the territory. But what I found a little bit upsetting is there's this criticism level that there's anarchy in the club from top to bottom, and it was getting reported back to me that people think the club's not functioning properly from top to bottom. And about all the things I was aware of, that was the thing that cut me to the quick, because you simply couldn't deliver what we deliver week in, week out if you've not got a board that's in unity, and you don't have a board that's in unity with its management team. We're a tight-knit group. Yeah, we have disagreements, but it would be unhealthy not to have disagreements. But you can't deliver all these projects that we deliver, you know, all the social functions, the sportsmen's dinners, the ladies' dinners, the question and answer nights. A board of directors wouldn't be able to deliver these things week in, week out if it wasn't in unity. And we certainly wouldn't have had the last 4 games of the season if the management and the board and the players weren't in unity. So I think we've answered a lot of questions on that front.
And so now, moving on to a review of the season. So this was your first full season at the club, Gary, and how have you found this season? I mean, it's of course coming from relegation last season.
I think after obviously the obvious disappointment of relegation last season, you know, the plan was to set out and, you know, and challenge this year, be promoted. We've managed to do that. The hard way, may I add. You know, we were in a position, maybe February, March time, that we were in a real good position. You know, we managed to then be dislodged at the top of the table towards the end of the season, which was a major disappointment also. But you know, the lads in their group together, they were well aware that it was disappointing, but they wanted to fix things. And I think on Saturday past, they did fix a lot. The effort and the character they've shown. Even going to the Annan game, the first game in the playoff, with 9 minutes to go, we were 2-0 down, and to get back in the game with 9 minutes to go, to leave Annan at 2-2, you know, that just showed you, it told me everything about the players, the character they had. And at that stage I thought, you know what, these players can be good, and they were. In the end they were. And I think on Saturday just typified them. The performance they went to Peterhead in a real difficult game, and the show they put on for the fans was tremendous, culminating obviously in our promotion.
And a lot of that was to some very good signings in the end of last season, of course, bringing in the likes of Lister and Cox and Adams, and of course Josh Peters, who had a tremendous start to the season.
I think just going back to my former chairman's comments, you know, I think just after the final whistle last year at the end of the season, our work began on piecing a squad together that, you know, I knew would challenge this year. Players we had that I was able to rely on, knew what I was going to get from them week in, week out. I mean, I think the work behind the scenes goes a bit unnoticed at times, and miles you're driving to meet players. It's not just one meeting, it's maybe 2 meetings, 3 meetings to try and to get deals over the line. Myself and Alistair were, you know, it was a case of have wheels will travel last close season to sign these players. We managed to get them on board. Fortunate enough for the football club, and you know, we've moved on. The aim was to be promoted. We've done that, and this season is going to be this close season is going to be another one that we now need to try and improve the squad we've got. You know, keep the nucleus of the lads that we will. You know, there's players here who are out of contract that we'll look to keep. These talks will continue later in the week, but there's always new blood that will come into clubs in close seasons, and we'll be no different.
And do you, of course, coming to out of contracts and things, do you think you'll be able to retain, well, hopefully, like 90% of the squad this season? Or
Well, I think if you look at the performance from the players throughout the season, yes, the ones that are out of contract, there's going to be some interest in them. It's just whether we can entice them to stay here, and further challenge next year in League One, because they're more than capable of doing that. And that'll be our aim, is to build a squad to challenge at the top. Whether it'll be sitting, they're more than capable of being in a playoff spot, if not higher, in Division 1. You've just got to look at Brecon City, who have been had a fantastic season, and there's absolutely no reason why players here can't go and do the same as what they've done.
I think also maybe we should just recognise that Angus is a bit of a hotbed of football right at the moment. There's the 4 teams have all had a really good season, and we've got to congratulate Brecon. That's a superb achievement, and we should look to follow on. And we both won the championship fair and square, and Montrose are in the playoffs. So, and then of course we've been promoted through the playoffs. So it's a hotbed, and four teams playing well. It's hope that continues.
I suppose that would lead to a lot of, much like you were saying, Gary, a lot of competition for signings, because many of them probably do live not too far away, and they could easily travel to Brecon, Arbroath, Montrose or here, couldn't they?
Well, they can. And players they travel from far afield. The Glasgow lads, the Edinburgh lads. But it's up to us to put something together. To try and get these deals over the line for the lads that we want to keep. And we'll put in a lot of effort into doing so over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Because as I reminded the lads on Saturday after the game, pre-season starts in 4 weeks.
Yeah, brilliant.
I suppose just one last thing before we finish. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Alistair, for all the work that you have done as the chairman. I've thoroughly enjoyed my first season as the match cameraman. After Neil, who actually taught me what to do, you were the first person to speak to me, and very much appreciate it. And of course, look forward to working with you, Ken.
Sure.
And all the best, Gary, with the close season. Hopefully we can challenge for promotion again next season.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.